Hey, what's up? It's Ben Nathan, the Benjamin. In Romans 8:13, it says that if you live according to the flesh, you will die, but if by the Spirit you put to death the misdeeds of your body, you will live. So what does that mean? Well, the flesh is like our humanity, right? It's our humanity that leads us against God, whether it's our hearts, our mouths with the things that we say, our minds with the negative things that we think, what we like to hear with our ears or see with our eyes, or there's stuff we do with our hands and feet. I think there's other parts of our body that lead us to do things against God. You get what I mean. The flesh is our bodily motivations that distance us from God, whether music, sex, words, entertainment, it all leads to destruction. In John chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus makes the point that Satan is trying to destroy us in our everyday lives, while Jesus is trying to give us a fulfilling life. So these temptations, these things that we deal with, it's from the devil, and you have a choice to make. Who is the God of your life? Your flesh or the Spirit of God? Which one will you live according to? As it said in that verse, Romans 8:13, that if you live according to the flesh, like if you live according to your flesh, actually living out these sinful things, then you will die. I think eternally is what that meant. But if by the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, you put to death these sins, these misdeeds of your body, then you will live, I say, eternally. I think that's kind of what God was trying to teach us. So we as believers have a decision to make, right? We're supposed to give our devotion and time and energy, the way that we live in the little moments, to God and not to our flesh, not to these temptations. They don't own us, right? We live our lives for God. And we don't have to keep falling short to these feelings and these flesh things in our everyday lives. God gave us free will. And I think the cruel irony is that a lot of us are using our freedom to become slaves again to sin. So don't live for yourself like this world teaches. Live for God, and you will live by the Spirit, and you will live eternally. When we live for God instead of the flesh, this is how we defeat these desires and these feelings in the flesh, and we overcome through Jesus. He says in John 8:34 that everyone who sins is a slave to sin. And in Galatians 5:1, it says that Christ has set us free for freedom. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be slaves to sin. In Matthew 26:41, it says, watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So when we, through even our best efforts, our best flesh, the flesh is still weak and we're unable to overcome sins. But it's in that moment that God's Holy Spirit is willing. And he is willing to give us our breakthrough today against these things, these feelings. Are you willing to receive it? Give your heart and your desires to God and simply watch what happens. As he says in Matthew chapter 6:21, for where your treasure is, like what you desire, there your heart will be also. So if you have to follow your heart eternally, make sure your heart follows Jesus instead of the sins that are going to hell. As it says in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. In Joshua 24:15, it says, choose this day whom you will serve, whether God or another. God bless you.